Hi everyone, I'm Allison. Thank you for joining me for I'm from number 128 with Joj. Um, what have you been reading? I read This Country. It's a graphic memoir by Naveed Mahdavian, and its subtitle is Searching for Home in a Very Rural America, and it's about he and his wife moving to rural, like very rural Idaho, and building their own tiny home and finding this really beautiful place to be, but also B is this place they want to raise children and um, ideologically. So I love graphic memoirs, and I thought this was a really beautiful one. And I think, I recommend it. Hi, Joj.
Hey,
Welcome to you from Iceland. That's not the way I would say that, but that's, I didn't get quite enough sleep last night. So all the words were right, but not in the right order. So how is Iceland? It looks beautiful.
it is fantastic. Yeah, it's
Yes.
fantastic. It's breathtaking. It's like being on another planet.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I would like to go someday. I'll just put that out.
Everybody should,
Someday.
yes, definitely manifest that because it needs to happen. Everybody should do it.
And do you find it like a good place for writing?
Very,
Yeah.
very. I came here in this last
Hmm.
summer for 6 weeks and really isolated myself in the middle of nowhere at a residency, and within 3 weeks was able to write nearly 300 pages.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you.
That's an epic accomplishment.
Yeah, yeah, it was huge for me because I've been trying to write this book for 20 years. So,
Yeah, well, if your poem's any indication, you have a lot to say.
oh,
You have a lot of things that you that you can that you can write about. I was like, wow,
yeah,
I'm very
you can see from the
excited to hear you read it.
title,
Yes.
the,
Yeah,
the
that
title's
too.
like, it's not even, it's only a nugget.
Yeah. So, well, I'm glad you found your place that supports your writing, because that's a big part of it. And I'm excited to read your memoir when it exists and is, readable to
Thank
the
you.
average person. So would you like to chat anymore, or would you like to read?
I'm open to whatever.
Oh, me too.
But I'm just thinking about we're both sleep deprived. I don't know what happened last night, but same over here.
Really.
I couldn't fall asleep and then couldn't stay asleep. So I
Well,
feel
I'm
you. Must be
impressed that
something
you've
in the air.
written so much there, because my thing would be that I would be distracted by the beauty and the energy and just all of it. I would feel like, zzz, you know what I mean? Like
I do.
vibrating with a certain kind of, uh,
I do,
yeah.
and it does. But it's better than the distractions that I had from home. The distractions I had from home were the floor is so dirty and come dust me and oh that toilet looking and
Well, and you have
so
four kids, right?
yeah, I have four.
So, there's
Yeah,
always something, like literally
always,
always something
always.
with that many
And
children. Yeah.
even when there isn't something, my
Mm-hmm.
mind makes up something that I should
Mm-hmm.
be doing. And here I don't really have a to-do list. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime that the writing gets hard, which is often,
Mm-hmm.
I get up and I look out the window, and it just gives me just a half a minute break to look away for a second. And the landscape is so different. It's like being in a fantasy movie, in a sci-fi movie, and the light
Mm-hmm.
is constantly changing. So the place
Mm-hmm.
never looks the same.
Mm-hmm.
There's always something. I mean, you can see by my by my Instagram feed that I'm constantly
Yeah.
taking photos.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think you're not alone. That's everyone I know who's been to Iceland. That is their experience, and part of the reason I want to go there. And I just want to congratulate you on taking the time you need to pursue your creative projects, because I
thank
think
you.
sometimes we tell ourselves that it can wait. So,
Yes, yes, and that's one of the reasons
hmm
why I'm here, because when I'm at home, I tell myself it can
hmm
wait. It can wait. And so, and then once I've booked a residency in Iceland, it does wait until I get here, but then I just jump
Mhm.
on in and roll around in it.
Well, congrats. And
Thank you.
I'm just want to say like that is impressive. That's worth celebrating, that making time for ourselves and our projects is important.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, okay, on that, I'd love to hear your poem.
Okay. The title of my Where I'm From poem is Some of It. I'm from a Buckeye beginning, born of a teen body. I'm from a melting Three Musketeers bar, proffered by a stranger and punctuated by miles of greyhound yellow lines. I'm from the loss of the dream bicycle left behind and the harrowing escape from the psychotic roommate whose spittle sunk into the divots left in the front door paint by her own scraping, protesting nails, and whose insults caused Mom to warn, I'm calling the cops. Our arrival into Ozarkian seclusion is marked by our phone number being printed into my name, so we won't be found. I'm from blonde road dust settling into the tiny hairs of a faux velour couch, into greasy chartreuse shag carpeting, and into the once black bumpy lines of the wood paneling of a sunny trailer perched precariously on cinder blocks in the piney woods of Arkansas. I'm from government cheese, powdered milk, food stamps, cereal, and cheap bologna, but also from sun-warmed strawberries, fried okra, corn and buttermilk lunch, and grandma's famous pancakes piled with chunky applesauce the grands make when they get back from autumns spent working in the orchards up north, where they park the camper they live in most of the year. I'm from feathered hair, macrame, squeaky steps, steel-toed boots, pill-shaped helmet with a tiny green glass window, tanks of oxygen and acetylene, forbidden clogs, a perfect apron bow, and glasses that change to shades in the sun. I'm from the moss-covered creek bed, worn into a slide by eons of spring water, where I lie in the cool and roll over to drink, the rocky liquid swirling around in and through me while the grown-ups go check on the growth of clandestine plants. I'm from the roadside entrepreneurship, digging up abandoned daffodil bulbs to sell by the blacktop, not for the money, but for the yearning, for connection. I'm from pushing the weedy bits up the inclined mirror and watching the seeds roll back down, the greenish brown shreds at the top to be salvaged and tucked into burning rolls of pungent and secret relief. I'm from makeshift sumac lemonade, pokeberry ink dripping from a rooster feather onto homemade paper, sunrise on pine needles, spring clumps of jelly frog eggs, white spotted ticks, and a fistful of venomous snakes. I'm from Pentecostally influenced non-denominational tent revival, where we speak in tongues over the strains of Just As I Am until we pass out from the baptism of the Holy Spirit, salty gratitude and redemption pooling in my ears and the granite gravel from the parking lot poking through the bargain astroturf into my tween shoulders. And in the attic of the barnwood cabin, down the hill where the grands soak strips of white oak for twisting into baskets of all imagined shapes that hung like garland from the rafters, containers that all mean milk and flour and lantern fuel. A young relative pressed his erection into my second grade backside, asking if he could snuggle up to me, ushering in an era of unsolicited touch I had no power or words or trust to denounce. I'm from losing myself in a neighborhood of make-believe, where Mr. Rogers was my dad, Doctor Who my wonky uncle, Julia Child my tipsy auntie, Bob, Maria, Louise, Olivia, Gordon, Linda, and Mr. Hooper were my neighbors, and where the Bloodhound gang was, my gang, where I tiptoed around the ticks and copperheads, twirled in the sassafras and briars and lady slippers, singing along with Dorothy, dreaming a twister would whisk me away to a place where I'd never be lonely, never be ignored, never go hungry, and where I'd settle down with one of the Lollipop Guild and make Munchkin baby. And that's some of it.
Well, it was beautiful. What a strong sense of place. I was so transported to, and I wondered if you felt, because you live in a different place now, if that gives you, I don't know, a different vantage point or more nostalgia or like, and I love that you're able to see the beauty of the place even as you're talking about the challenges of that place, because those are the things we have to juggle as humans. And Oceana, or oh shit, she misses you, or they miss you.
Oh,
I don't
Ocean.
know if you see that in the chat.
Ocean.
It's very
Um,
sweet.
uh, yeah, yeah. I think that in order to really appreciate the Ozarks, I had definitely had to leave it
Mm-hmm.
because it was what I fought so hard to escape for what felt like eternity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was really like a couple decades, but
But was it
it
your whole
felt like
life
it was.
up to that point?
Yeah, pretty
Most.
much. I moved to the Ozarks when I was, I think I was 8, and
Yeah.
I was in my 20s when I actually finally got to France.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually France that really gave me the opportunity to turn around and see all of the places that I had lived. Because, you know, I lived nomadically. We lived in a
Mm-hmm.
camper on the back of our pickup truck. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, so, so it gave me the opportunity to really like compartmentalize the different places that I did
Mm-hmm.
live, and there were pieces of me. I left pieces of me, and it planted seeds
Mm-hmm.
of itself in me, and I carry those with me. Even here in Iceland, I see things that remind me of all the different homes where I've lived. Um, so I feel extremely grateful to have um, what I thought was escaped. I was I escaped,
Yeah.
but in that
You went to
escaping,
France. I mean,
yeah,
that's a really so was Julia Child an influence in your decision to go to France, or all her French cooking, or was that just a coincidence?
it was definitely an influence. Actually, that's the that's a big part of the memoir that I'm writing. Is I talk about all of the different films and TV shows that had me convinced that France would be the solution, would be the cure
Mm-hmm.
to being trailer
A
trash. And
lot of those were working on me too, Joj. So I look back on it and I think about how influential. By the way, a child is saying, "Hi, mom, we love you."
hi, kids. Oh, it's Lily. Hi, Lily.
It's very sweet. I don't know from that handle who it is, so I'm glad you.
That's my baby.
It's very sweet. Um, and I think back on the power of these. I feel like especially with people like us who didn't have the internet and there was not the multitude of options. You know, it was like the networks and PBS and
Yeah.
the books at the library
Yeah.
and
And I didn't have access to the library actually.
mm,
I didn't I we there was a library, but we just didn't, you know, my mom for a long time was a waitress.
mhm,
I mean, back then we called them waitresses. She was a waitress in a
mhm,
cafe, and that's why the perfect apron bow. She
mm,
used to have me check her apron bow before going to work.
mhm.
Um, uh, and so we didn't, and we never really had a vehicle that would start. I mean, it was always like a crapshoot
Right.
to know if mom was actually going to make it to work that day.
Mhm.
Um, so I relied heavily on TV and movies, and again, mostly PBS because it was what would come in, you know,
Mhm.
on our rabbit ear antenna in the middle of the
Yeah,
woods. I
that's rabbit
relied on
ears.
that for yeah for
Yeah, those.
instruction, like
Mhm,
on how to be.
mhm.
And then eventually, a family member got a job at the local video store. And when I say video store, I mean like a shack.
Wow. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
And that was like striking gold because
Oh
we've
yeah.
just pirated all these movies and I just watched them over and over and, just really gleaned, just like a sponge, just soaked up all this
Mm-hmm.
like social capital and
Mm-hmm.
cultural capital that taught me how to be. And then I just sort of learned to hustle, and just be kind of a chameleon and
Mm-hmm.
just follow along and do what other people were doing until just that sort of fake it till you make it
Mm-hmm.
thing. And yeah, I think that, like you said, for people who don't have as much privilege or access to, at one point actually, I used to read the yellow pages of the phone book
Mm. I would
to
read
know
anything.
what.
I
Yeah,
mean, and I did have privilege. So, I mean, I think also some of it is just, I don't know, this like longing to live another place, life, existence, and
yeah,
to understand the rules. Like for me, I think a lot about how much I wanted to understand the rules of engagement
yeah,
because I
yeah,
felt like I was just not figuring it out fast enough. And
yeah.
so I was just, I mean, I would too, the white pages, whose name was in there the most, what name was the most. I mean, I was just everything.
For,
I was always trying to shove it in,
yeah,
whatever.
for me, those yellow pages taught me
Mm,
about what existed. It taught me so many things that
yeah.
existed that I would have never known about. All the different specialties,
Well,
and it kind of fed my imagination of things that I could be, or things that, places I could patronize, or
mm,
someday when I was older and was given that card that you get to go be an adult and interact with other humans.
yeah. Yeah, I desperately wanted a checking account because I felt like that was a
Oh,
really, meant you'd made it when you're writing checks. And no, I mean, you still have to have money in the account. They don't just
yeah,
give you the checks. You can just write whatever you
yeah,
want. But yeah, and also about the yellow pages, which is interesting. I don't know, but how things were
yeah,
categorized was an
yeah,
interesting. It felt like, oh, this is important to know that if I'm looking for, I
yep,
can't think of an example, but it was a little counterintuitive, the
yeah.
yellow
If
pages, the
I
way.
need, yeah, if I need this, and that was the other thing, is I remembered also the dictionary, just like
Mm,
getting. I feel like the dictionary was my internet because it was one of
mm,
those
mm,
places where I really could like just rabbit hole.
mm,
I would,
mm,
and oh, if I got a hold of somebody's encyclopedia, if I went over to someone's house who had some like expired world
oh
book
yeah.
or whatever,
Hmm.
oh, just lose myself for just ages. I would just stop playing with them and just start just start looking through all the different things. Um,
Oh, I can imagine that. That's a what I love that. And I wanted to say too, your description of Sesame Street was the intention behind the show. Like that was their hope when they created it, was to create this space where people felt less alone. And you
yeah,
could feel that when you were watching it, that intention. I could.
and it was my only window into diversity
Hmm.
actually as well,
Yeah.
because there wasn't a lot of
Yeah.
diversity, where there just weren't people, and
There wasn't a
and
diversity of humans, like
exactly,
type. Yeah.
like this whole neighborhood of make believe. I really did live that.
Mm.
I had named the neighbor's cow Andrew and spent hours talking to him. My grandparents had a chicken that I named Henrietta, and I talked to her for hours. And there was this fallen, well, this tree that had grown sort of wonky, and I would sit on that tree and I
Mm.
would ride it like I was riding a horse, and I would actually wave to people as I rode by them on my horse. So I really did just go full into, making up this world and making up characters as my friend. And that's why the whole roadside entrepreneurism, I mean, is I was ready to connect with anyone for any reason.
Mm-hmm.
I kidnap me if you want. I don't care, but but at least it's a way to connect with. I used to
Mm.
call the information line, that
Yep.
you remember you could used to call and
Yep.
ask for the correct time. I used
Mm-hmm.
to call the information line just to hear a stranger's voice.
Mm-hmm. The tone at the time will be.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
I called it. I liked it. I also just like to call things. because
Yeah.
that felt very also grown up. And I mean,
Yeah. Yes.
I'm gonna make a guess here that you felt similarly to me, like I was a grown up trapped in a child's life and body, you know?
Definitely.
So it was like I wanted the good stuff.
Yeah. I wanted
Like,
all the privilege that
yeah,
comes with it, not
yeah,
just the
yeah,
responsibility. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like
Definitely.
itching
Yeah. Definitely.
those little, like grasping at those little things and felt, oh, okay, you know, like
Yeah.
I got that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I love to make phone calls. Oh, I just
Not
loved holding
anymore.
the
Now I'm
phone.
just,
No, but
now I'm
I
like,
miss phones,
how
to be
dare you call
honest.
me?
I sort of like the phone though, with the wire
Oh
and the, I don't know.
God.
There's
Yeah.
something very
Where you
satisfying.
twirl
And
the, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And doing
I
like the
also miss having,
numbers.
oh
Oh,
yeah.
it's good.
And I had the rotary. Oh my God. It was so tactile. It's so
Yes.
satisfying. Click, 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 click,
Yes.
click, click, click.
Yes.
Um, but I also miss the hearing that I had at that age too. Now
Mm.
I can't even answer
Hmm.
the phone because
Hmm.
without seeing people's lips, I can't understand them. Yeah.
Interesting.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness for Zoom, etc.
There are so many things like that that make
Yeah.
life more accessible.
Yeah.
That, like, for everyone who complains about Siri, she has changed people's lives,
Oh
you
my
know?
God. So many people
So,
would still be lost.
yeah. 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 Lost, but also like never be able to text because they can't
Yeah.
use their hands in that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Absolutely.
oh, this is great. Um,
Yeah.
Hi, Mia. Someone just joined, one of my child's friends.
Oh.
Hello, Mia.
Oh.
Yeah. Uh, so what was the experience like writing this, Joj? I'm like, I got to get back on track. What question do I ask now? What was your experience like writing this? And thank you for joining me.
Oh.
I did in the little intro or the little sentence, like it was always such a pleasure when you would show up at those forums. It's like 3 in the morning for you or something. And I was always just blown away, like, oh, they're here, you know?
Yeah, sometimes I was only half there where I was like,
Understandably.
um,
Yeah. Like, well, this is special to me. I'm like, lots of things are special to me. I'm not getting up in the middle of the night for them. So,
well, it's really isolating to be a writer in English, living in
mm-hmm,
France. And so
mm-hmm,
any opportunity that I could take, if I didn't have anything major going on the next day, and if
mm-hmm,
it was worth getting up at 1 in the morning or staying up until 1 in the morning, and then, to start and being up till 4, it was always worth it because it was just that, that 2 hours
yeah.
of, because no one in my house cares about my writing, and no one in my
Mm-hmm.
friends are really, they indulge me and I'll start talking about my manuscript and they're like, but they're like, they're not writers necessarily. And so to spend time with people who enjoy puzzling things
Mm-hmm.
out through writing, and that whole concept of narrative medicine, and yeah, it was riveting to me, and it was easy to get up and or stay up, to have that interaction, because it would feed me for, it would keep me from being cranky with my family for, a good couple weeks.
And it is a very supportive, like lovely. I
Yeah.
felt the same kind of sense of being fed. And I do think that sorry, getting another hiya mama. Um,
Oh, that's my other teenager.
yeah. Welcome, teenagers. If you have a poem you want to share, I always want to get a younger person on here, and they're like, no. The ones I've asked, they're so. If your children are interested, send them my way.
Yeah, I'll see
Uh,
if I can hook you up.
yeah, because I just think it'd be so interesting, like because our vantage point or perspective changes on where
Yeah.
we're from as we
Yeah.
age. But what was I saying? Oh, I also think, and then I'm going to get back to what it was like for you writing this poem. I also think when you don't have writers in your life who are, in your case, writing in English, but writing at all, they're like, you're still working on that thing. Like it's important to have people in your life who understand it. It is often a very lengthy process. Finding the story, writing the story, rewriting, all of those things. And it's nice to not be alone
Finding
with that and not feel like,
finding the real story. Like you
yeah,
write down what you think is the
yeah,
story, and then having someone say, but is that the real
yeah,
story? What's the real
yeah.
story? And writers know that. Writers know that it really is about excavation,
Yeah.
and calling yourself on your own bullshit, and keeping keep it just keep digging, and writers will hold you accountable. Writers who love you will hold you accountable to that, and keep asking. I had someone reach out to me last week actually who said, like, it's time. It's time. So do you need me to beta read, or, I mean, because it's time. You're done with this book. um Stop rewriting it.
I feel like it's time, and I don't even know anything, but I'm just like, I don't know. I'm ready for this book, so get on my timeline.
Get right.
No, but truly, I it is important to. I mean, I had my first person read my manuscript, which is like a big when you share it with someone and you're no longer holding it, in your little just in you.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, how do you feel about sharing this with more people?" And it's like that's a big question too. Like, you know, it, it's very personal.
There's this
Uh,
one part of me that wants to share it with everyone. I
yeah,
mean, that's part of the reason I'm
yeah,
writing it, is because I want to scream it. I have things to say, and things that I wish someone had
yeah,
said to me, and I can't.
yeah.
Not I've put this book away and said I'm done. Not
Mhm.
done like
No,
finished,
no,
but
I know.
I'm not doing this anymore.
I know. I've done that with things myself. Yes.
um, and so many times, but
Yes.
it always starts itching again, and I
Mm-hmm.
always pick it back up.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that side of me. But then, yes, there's the other side who makes just an offhand Instagram Instagram comment on a stranger's page, and then gets like pummeled by all of the trolls. That
I
person
know.
is like, I'm never sharing anything ever.
I want to say though, and this may be untrue, but I feel like more trolls exist on Instagram comments than are going to take the time to read your book or my book. And
Yeah,
that is sort of a comfort.
comfort. Yeah,
Like books are a different world. I do believe. Obviously,
yeah,
it's different for you. You're non-binary. People like to really get wrapped up in gender names and go a little bit bananas on it.
yeah.
Like and aren't just like, oh, you can have your right. Like I don't get it. Like just why does it seem like it like viscerally injures them what your identity is?
Because
I
it
just
does. It does. It
yeah,
does.
right.
It does. It challenges, because I was talking about this. I was having a discussion about grammar. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
people were talking
I'm
about their
sure.
grammar pet peeves. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
the and I have a physical reaction when people mess up less or
Oh,
fewer. I have a physical
interesting.
reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
my trigger, and I'm like, I can see it. And so I get it. I get that people are like, how, I don't understand how, because they've been taught a certain way, and they've been taught, when the things that we learn when we're a kid is that's our safe space.
Mm.
And so anything that sort of challenges what we know as our reality, that's painful and scary. And it's because I went through the whole going to France and learning that my reality was one of a gazillion realities, that
Yeah.
that I was I'm no longer afraid. I'm more, well, I mean, sometimes afraid,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm more comforted. I'm more comforted by the fact that there are so many challenges to my conception of reality don't hurt the way they used to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm here to be patient. I'm here to be understanding while people figure it out. It's just part of the growing pains that will move us towards a more inclusive and loving society. I hope. I hope.
I hope so too. And I also want to say I think that's a really generous perspective that you that you have. So and I'm sure people appreciate it. But
Thank
also
you.
it's not your job to educate. Like I want to say that out loud. And it's interesting you saying that it's something we're taught as kids and that we're very defensive or like we attach to those things. But so many things I was taught as a child aren't true.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
and about myself,
Yeah.
about the world, and And it is scary. I mean, it's interesting thinking about it because taking all that apart has saved my life.
Yeah,
So
same.
I mean, I want to invite other people to to interrogate the things that were told as children because they're not all
Well, even the
true.
interrogation,
Yeah,
even the
yeah. Even
interrogation
if you
in
end up
my
being like, yes,
childhood.
those were true, you know, but just interrogate it, I guess. Oh, I think you're frozen, George. Yes, little. Okay.
Ways are, and you don't interrogate. And so even just daring to question
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, has been a big, and actually I feel like I'm only as successful as I am because of rebellion, because I have a rebellious streak to where one day I just stopped trying to be good. I'm no longer going to be good, and I'm actually going to turn around and find out what's true for me. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
so
think
the experience of writing this poem, because I feel
yes.
like
Please get us back on track.
I'm so
Please.
bad about tangents that I am just trying to like,
Well, and your poem is packed with them too, so it's like
yeah,
we have license to go on tangents. But yes, get us back
yeah.
on track, please.
Um, the experience of writing it, yeah, again, it was hard, um, because not all of those, not where I'm from is actually that's a painful and complicated and enigmatic question. It's not like people will say, so where are you from?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a memoirist. So that just means that like I know I have at least a dozen books in me to talk about where I'm from and to really like go into the intricacies of where I'm from. Um, um, so, but this invitation to write this poem was really good for me right now because I'm working on this
Mm-hmm.
memoir. And so it gave me a lot of my backstory chapters happen in this period and in this place. And it gave me the opportunity to go back and look at those. And then Mary Carr says, you have to write what happens in between the ass kicking. And this prompt really sent me in that direction. I needed to talk about the ass kicking, but there's nothing like a sun-warmed strawberry from your grandparents' garden. There's nothing like growing your own okra and breading it and frying it. There's nothing like the smell of that weird earthy smell of white oak strips soaking in water so that my grandparents could get up and twist them into baskets. And so I got the chance to really examine the details that happen between ass kicking. And so I thank you for that prompt and for this opportunity to talk about those things.
Well, you're welcome. They were beautiful. I'm always here for descriptions of nature, and because I feel like nature is many of our first and most loyal friend. And
Yeah.
I'm here for to hear about everyone's unique relationship to their best friend because that's how I feel about
Uh,
it. So it
Love
always like
that. What a
gets
great way to
me,
put it.
like,
Yeah.
whoa, tell me more. So it was really beautiful. Well, any last thoughts, Joj, before we both go fall face first into our mattresses? Sorry. Like, okay. We've stayed coherent,
Final
Joan. I'm very
thought.
proud of us.
I know, right? We kept it mostly on
Yeah.
track. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, that's a miracle. Okay. Final thoughts. Uh, Everyone should do this, even if it's
I
not
agree.
something that
Hmm.
they share. And actually, I really could write a whole collection of these.
Yeah.
I could write a whole
Yeah.
collection. And I think everybody has the capacity to do that, to really think about the little details that just the can I call it memory candy. Just those
Hmm.
little
Yeah.
sweet things
Hmm.
that stick out to you in a certain way that may not stick out to others, but always always seems to
They
stick
do.
out to others. It always
They
strikes that
really do.
universal chord.
Okay,
Yeah.
so people are asking you to read it again. And I want to say when we're finished, it will show up. You can watch the replay and you can send it to people. And so I will post it so you can watch the whole conversation and read it, watch her. Sorry, saying her. They, there we go. Didn't hold it together the whole time. Didn't
Listen,
stay
I'm
coherent
almost
the whole
50,
time.
so I'm almost 50, so I'm not, it's not like I'm a 20 something non-binary. If I were 20 something, I'd be like, excuse
I know, and I would appreciate it. It's fine.
me. Yes.
Um, because it's like, uh, um, it's because your daughter called you mama.
Yes.
That thing
Yeah.
to me. So
Yeah.
there
Yep.
is a reason. I was like, oh, but
But
you can.
yes, while I would love to read it again, it is really long. So I would,
And the replay will pop up. I think Joj, I'll invite her to be a collaborator. It'll show up on both of our feeds, and you will be able to watch it and enjoy it. So sorry, I interrupted. I think what your
no,
final
that's
thoughts
okay.
were
That's
because I
okay.
didn't
Like
want
as you're talking,
to
I'm like
ignore
being,
them. I didn't
no,
want
I
to ignore
know.
them saying, please read it again.
I'm finally seeing the comments, so I'm a little distracted by them. I'm like, oh, people are talking to us.
Yes. Yes, that's
Squirrel.
the beauty of the live situation.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, your kids and your partner are tuned in. Sweet.
Yeah. And the last thing that I would say is, besides everybody write one of these, is
Mm-hmm.
everybody go to Iceland.
That's right. This is
You don't,
the
yeah,
tourism from Iceland is gonna thank you.
yeah, you don't have to, like everybody's like, oh, but it's so expensive. It is expensive. It can be expensive. But if you know how to be frugal, if you understand that where you sleep is just a bed and
Mm-hmm.
that you want to be safe and secure, of course, you want to be safe and secure and warm, etc. That I've never had a problem with in Iceland, but it doesn't have to be 4-star for it to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to save all that extra money for like ice cave tours. And I snorkeled in a freshwater lagoon between the two tectonic plates.
Yeah.
Come, come to Iceland.
Come to Iceland, write a poem, and please, I haven't said it in a while, but you are welcome to join me, people. It's an open invite. So if you want the prompts, you want to share it, Joja's children, anyone else, come join me. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This was a pleasure, as I knew it would be, and I look forward to reading your book. We're first of many.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We'll make that
Okay.
happen.
Yes. Okay. Bye, everyone.